Welcome, everyone. Um, Take talent barriers for English-speaking women here in Quebec. All right, so over the next 10 minutes, what we're going to do is that I'm going to drop some data about our program that we just ran in collaboration with Women Tech Makers in order to bring some real data into this problem, as well as the research that we did about English-speaking women. And this panel is really highlighting the real data from real women, so I would say it's going to be interesting. and for another 40 minutes, what we're doing is that we'll have a live problem-solving panel with our amazing industry leaders that are coming here that I will introduce shortly. And we're going to go over the barriers that we have documented throughout the program. And we'll go over and offer some actionable solutions for that, which is going to be again interesting. So, who am I talking about this topic and having this panel? Actually, it's a little bit of a milestone for me today. It's my birthday, and look, thank you. And it's a good time to reflect on the past 10 years of my life. You see a lot of milestones, but also personal milestones, including two cute creatures that I have as I'm mom of two. But just like to normalize introducing ourselves as a whole person, right? Also, immigration that you see, I came here in 2022. But other than that, like in the last 10 years, I would say I was in a constant state of building the systems that didn't exist for women. And so all of the names that you see in here, Intelligentness, Mama Nest, Her Career Link, Mama Tech AI Studio, Her Career Conference, Her Future Ready program, all of them, they were out of necessity and something that I thought it's missing. And yeah, so let's do this. Let's start at a micro level, Quebec. Where are we right now, right? So the panel is for English speakers, and thanks to PERT Quebec, Provincial Employment Roundtable, that are gathering this amazing data for English speakers, we have some data to share about Quebec and their realities. So first, English-speaking women earn the lowest median income of any group in Quebec, which is, as you see, $28,400, which compared to French-speaking women is $4,000 less, and compared to French-speaking men, $13,000 less, right? So income gap. Unemployment gap. So as you see here in the slide, we see in all of the 17 regions of Quebec, higher unemployment across every group for women. So women, even compared to the other groups of youth, immigrants, visible minorities, in all of them. Next, economic cost of this gap. So the economic cost of this gap for Quebec is actually a lot. It's $1.5 billion every year. And if the gap were simply closed, what would happen is that 28,000 more English speakers would be working today. There is a bilingualism paradox in Quebec. And the thing is that English speakers are more bilingual. They're 64% more bilingual compared to French speakers. So it means that an English speaker, 64% of English speakers speak French as well, compared to 48% of French speakers who do not speak English. So they're more qualified, they're more willing to work, but still they're earning less in all of the 17 regions of Quebec. And so talking about the barriers that are compounding is that 10.9% unemployment for English-speaking women. Add immigrant status to that, it rises up to 11.6%. Add visible minority, 12.3%. And then we see that it is all adding, and then add womenhood on that. You'll see the lowest median income for women. So each identity layer compounds the disadvantage. And now, just 3 days ago, we have a political threat as well. So as of April 15th, Quebec's new premier has committed to extending Bill 101 to adult and vocational education. And if we want to think about it thoroughly, what is happening is that they're putting actually affordable and accessible pathway to reskilling in English under direct political threat. So that's what it means for women. right now, English-speaking women. So we're not talking about a niche problem. We're talking about an economic gap that actually Quebec is choosing to deepen. And so with all of that, let's look at the macro level, which is what's happening in the world right now for women who are trying to get a job in tech. So the thing is that the world these women are navigating is really fast-paced right now. The women who they want to get a job in tech. 86% of employers expect AI to transform business by 2030. So it's affecting a lot of the equations, right? Women who change their jobs earn only 30% wage premium compared to 40%, 44% for men. Unemployment remains higher actually for women at every income level, and AI disruption hits female, older, and educated workers hardest. And these are all coming from the research from World Economic Forum Future of Work research and Anthropic data that was dropped just a few days ago. So with all that being said, this panel was designed in the first place in order to talk about the tech talent barriers, and we all know the context, but then even moving forward and do something in terms of the policy changing. So we designed this model called VAM model, which is a voice align act measure. So after understanding the problem, it's time to do something for that. All we are doing today is in the first stage, which is voicing. We're gonna do voice the problems of women, English-speaking women who want to get a job, and then after that, hopefully, with all of you together and with all of us, after knowing the precautions of what's happening, we're gonna go and work on the next parts, which I'm going to introduce later. So this VAM model has been developed by Intelligence. Intelligence is trying to empower English-speaking women here in Quebec in order to become future-ready in tech, AI, and digital careers. And specifically for this panel, in order to bring real data, we have designed a Hair Future Ready program in collaboration with Stefania, Women Tech Makers. And in 7 weeks, we tried to understand what are the real problems that English-speaking women are struggling with in order to get a job. And we got some great insights. So let's meet our participants for this program. So I said this program is really highlighting the real voice of real women in our program. And these are our panelists, our participants for the program. They're coming from diverse backgrounds. They're trying to get a job in tech, so pivot into tech or re-enter after a career break. They're coming from different backgrounds, but they all want to get a job in tech, and they're all super qualified. They have high profiles. So thank you to everyone who is joining today as well. So here is what we found in 7 weeks, and that's what we are going to talk about today. So we found that there is, yes, credential gap that we all knew about it, especially for English speaking, but then there is role confusion for women who want to get a job in tech. Then there is hidden job market, we all knew about it, but there's also broken network that they're also suffering from. So they're English speakers, they're not sure where and when to start networking. They have this French first myth that they've heard about it. So we need to talk about it to see what we can do. But then French first myth, one of our participants, she's an author of a book, and she didn't even mention that she's an author up until now because she thought she needed to be fluent in French and then she can present herself, right? Okay, so then we are talking about layered, named and not unnamed biases that I'm going to talk about in depth about that. So named and unnamed, just like remember that. We are talking about, we have seen life journeys that they were not accounted for. So there were some women who were in different stages in their lives, and then they're confused how they can translate it in what they need to be presenting themselves for. And then tech space that still feels exclusive for some of them who want to get a job. So with all of that being said, thank you so much for your patience. I made it in just 10 minutes. I dropped the data. And right now, I'm going to introduce our amazing panelists. So starting with Annalise Itten. I'm so honored to have you with us, Annalise. She's a powerhouse in Quebec's employment sector. She has over 27 years of experience as a leader at Yes Employment and Entrepreneurship Career Sector. She's a certified professional coach and she's spent over 2 decades designing the programs that help English-speaking community navigate through career transitions with confidence. And I have had meetings with her. She's caring for every single person that she's serving. So that's really, truly an honor to have you with us. So please help me welcome Annalise Itten. Thank you so much. And next, I'm thrilled to introduce Maya Toussaint, a leader passionate about building inclusive teams that drive tech innovation. With over 20 years of experience at giants like LinkedIn, Shopify, and Amazon, she now leads social impact at Clio. She's known for her hearty laugh and her bold hair, right? Her beautiful hair. I was looking to see how, like, what color is going to be your hair today. So yeah, it's the same. Nice. And so she's bringing empathy and humor to everything she does. Please welcome Maya. Now, I'm pleased to introduce Sta Kuzwyanza. She's a dedicated public policy strategist with a proven track record across diverse policy sectors. Thanks to FIRT Quebec, we have all this data from Quebec. So it's great to give highlights, give visibility to the problems of English speakers. She's currently focusing on the vital intersection of employment and language policy. And she brings years of experience interfacing with government decision makers. Thank you so much for being here, and please welcome Sta. Please welcome Rashida Geddes. She's first, like, mom of three, right? I wanna highlight that. It's not easy, right? Twin boys. And your girl is here. Okay. Oh, nice. Welcome. So she's a leadership and career coach. She's a talent leader and TEDx speaker with over 15 years of experience in corporate recruitment. She's been working at an intersection of talent and representation, and she helps organizations rethink diversity while equipping professionals to succeed within those systems. And I've had my conversations with her. She's really caring about bringing skill-based hiring part of the equation, which is very valuable. So thank you so much, and thank you for joining. And so last but certainly not least, I'm honored to introduce Stefania, which you already know, right? She's okay. So she's amazing. Oh, let me read from here because because I'm not I'm yeah. She's the executive director of Women Tech Makers, of course. She's a global AI expert for UNESCO. She has a postdoc in a lot of tech stuff, computer science career, and her career is in different backgrounds. So she has a full eye, like bird's eye view of a lot of tech roles that she's talking about. So biotech all the way to video games. She has been in pioneer in NLP and AI for years. And beyond her tech expertise, she's a community builder, a real community builder, and she's really caring about all the women, and she want to really bring more and more women, and she's working really tirelessly, not only in Women Tech Makers, but also Don't Take Stress. We haven't talked about it that much, but even the branding shows her intention. And so, yeah, please help me welcome Stefania. Okay, so let's start with the first barrier. Okay, so you don't see it, but you can see it here. Yeah. The invisible pivot, we call it. So tech space feels exclusive, right? So this is the exact quote from our participants. I thought tech was only coding. I felt 5 years behind. After this program, I realized I really had what it takes. I just didn't know how to frame it. We've already solved problems that matter in tech. So, and you have been, Stefania, with all the participants, right? So you've had the office hours with them. They're coming from different backgrounds. And we designed this whole program in a way to make them feel prepared for this day. Because last year I attended Women Tech Makers event, and oh my God, I said, let's bring all the women who are not in tech in here because it's so much fun, right? So we have designed all of these programs in order to help them get ready for this. And right now they're all here. So I wanted to know, what do you think, how we can make tech spaces more inclusive? Because you have done a lot of great job, but still it is a little bit exclusive for them. And they say, even for example, the networking events or some of the events, that the titles are a little bit intimidating. So yeah, I wanted to know your opinion about it.
So we need to make sure, like right now we have in a lucky position where tech
Mm-hmm.
can be accessible in many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And you can start basically in a way that is simple, like there are some stuff that I don't like to do. For example, in my case, it might be making sure that I know every single AI news out there and trying to understand what are
Mm-hmm.
the trends in the
Mm-hmm.
market. So are there any tools that I can use that are already done for me that
Mm-hmm.
can let me understand how to build something with tech?
Mm-hmm.
So during our
Yeah.
sessions, I show how to use Claude
Mm-hmm.
and how we can automate our daily life with Claude. And the message here is that we don't need to over complexify stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We can start simple with the skills that we have,
Mm-hmm.
and then we pick one thing that we really like, and then we try to understand, okay, how can I make it more mine? How can I make it more customized on myself?
Mm-hmm.
um, how can I make my own, I don't know, chatbot or my own application? And then honestly, we are so creative and
Yeah.
so smart that at some point it's like a click and you say, okay, now I can do this, this, and this. I'm ready to open my startup and build my own product about it. And I have someone here that
Yeah.
can understand very, very well what I'm saying. So, I mean, this is something that we need always to remember. For sure, there are different levels in tech,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't need to think about only to the highest one.
Mm.
Like, let's start simple. Right now, we have the tools to do it. And with the community, we can also ask to more technical people to help us and
Mm-hmm.
then understand for our needs, not for what the society is telling us. The last trend is what we really need
Mm-hmm.
today.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And so, like, what do you think in terms of the entry points to tech, for people who are not in tech, you know? So, for example, they see there's this amazing annual event called Women Tech Makers Day, right? So they just come, right, they just come and explore, or like there are some workshops happening, for example, at the same time that we have this panel. They're all in tech,
Mhm.
right? But they're designed in a way, I believe, that they're for
Anyone,
exploration phase,
yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. When we do our workshops, usually we try not to divide them in levels because we want the technology, the knowledge to go into
Ah,
different levels.
yeah.
Technology, yes. Uh, so basically, and that's also why we decide to have not like huge workshop of 100 people,
Yeah.
because we want to make sure that we have one expert that can basically
Yeah.
come to each participant and say, okay, what would you like to achieve? What
Mm.
are your challenges today? And it is something, the other aspect that we do is trying to make sure not to talk only
Yeah.
about AI, because AI is important,
Yeah.
it's okay, but like
What
technology
other
is
stuff? Yeah.
huge. You
Exactly.
can do a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
which means also that you have so many entry points where you can bring your own
Yeah.
skills and your own voice, which is something that we usually have
Don't
like,
take into
yeah,
consideration, right?
exactly. We don't remember, but again, we do products for users.
Yeah.
So our voice is extremely important.
Of course. Thank you so much. And I was wondering, Maya, do you have anything to add maybe about the entry points for tech for women specifically?
There are so many. I think it's just about thinking about your transferable skills.
Yeah.
Tech is vast, like you
Yeah.
said, like it isn't just AI. I do want to say that I'll talk about AI for a little bit. Getting into AI, I think, can only help you
Mm.
because it is what's happening right now. Um, your job, you as a human will not be replaced by AI, but you could be replaced by someone who uses AI, and that's the thing that you need to remember. And there's so many different tools out there that are accessible. We're talking
Yeah.
about accessibility. You can play with it. I just use it on the side all the time, whether it's Claude or I say it like Claude. At work, everyone's like, "What are you saying?" It's Claude. Gemini or Copilot. There's so many different ones. So just get to playing with it and
Yeah.
ask it what are different entry points
Yeah.
into tech. Like it can also give you ideas.
Yeah, of course. So we're going to talk about English speaking immigrants that so oftentimes they have this feeling that they're shut out before they start. So the thing is that, like, I'm gonna read the quote. I came with a degree, ready to work. Organizations shut me down because I didn't have a work permit yet. Some didn't even speak English. By organizations, they mean the organizations that are helping English speaking women or English speakers in general to get a job. People told me it would be easy to integrate into Quebec and to get a job. Quebec is harder for English speakers to integrate than anyone admits. This is coming from someone who is coming from the United States, like from America here. And she had this experience, and yeah, we have witnessed even in our other programs that, of course, like Yes Montreal has been here for 30 years, right? So they're offering the services, they're amazing, they're like all the time there. But is it something about referral pathways to reach to Yes Montreal, or is like whatever? I mean the problem that you see.
Yeah, it's such a great question, and it's really actually quite complex
Yeah.
because as nonprofits, people
Uh-huh.
who provide
Yeah.
employment services,
Right.
right? It's streaming from federal and provincial
Right.
funders or private
Right.
foundations or donations. When we are attached to the federal and provincial funding, their criteria is
Yeah.
uber strict. If you do not have a work permit, you are not legally
Yes.
entitled to work in the province. This is just an example, okay?
Yes.
So I know that there are a lot of people that are coming that don't necessarily have their work permit yet.
Yes.
Maybe they're an international student, for
Right.
example, but they might have the
Right.
ability to work.
Right.
You have to check your visa status. But that doesn't mean you can't find your way. And when I was reading the question and preparing, I'd mentioned to you, I'm like, ooh, it's a little tricky because I don't want to discourage people. I really want to provide people
Yeah.
with options. And one of those options is really about networking. Hello, people. This is what we're talking
Yeah.
about. Connecting with women.
Right.
Hi,
Yeah.
women. Hi, guys, but women. Women who have a strong connection within the domain that you want to work in, joining associations, volunteering, getting involved in a variety of different things like sitting on committees or joining a board. These are all because, again, whoops, sorry, that's my water bottle. There are a lot of, as Rashida was saying, there are so many transferable skills. I'm sorry, not Rashida. Sorry. Maya was saying there's so many. You did. Okay, I'm not losing my mind. There are so many transferable skills, highly educated people and we know this. It's an extremely big pain point for people like me who work in the field to help people grow and get to where they want to go, that there's so many barriers and challenges for them.
Right.
So when you look at it from the lens of, well, I can come to this event. I can go to Yes and do workshops. I can come to a career check-in for 15 minutes and get some coaching.
Right.
So we will find other pathways. So we've had many programs such as WORK, which was Women Readiness Employment Quebec, right? That was a program we ran really to look at women who've been further away from the marketplace. Primarily there was COVID. Moms coming back to the workforce, the gap, how do they manage that? A lot of it has to also do, and I'm just going to say this is my sort of take on coaching, but I work with a lot of women, and one of my thing is always about stand in your light, stand in your skills, own it.
Yeah.
You're so quick to own where you went wrong, and that's the dialogue, the inner dialogue that's going on, and you need to own what you contributed.
Exactly.
And it's a fact. So own it as a fact and let that be your dialogue, right? So there's that. And I guess too, if we think about the marketplace right now, I mean, March, and I'm sure Sta probably has some great stats, but it's really like we were at 7.4% unemployment in Montreal. Let me tell you, we're the second highest level. Gaspé is first and Montreal is second. So you're on top of compounding issues, right? So that's why I say it's quite complex.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
get involved, connect, ask lots of questions, get your career strategizing hat on and start talking to people about career strategizing. What do you do? How did you get there? What do you love? What's the labor market like? What do you see happening?
Mm-hmm.
These are things that you get to show your personality and your skill sets and your how you connect with people and how you hold yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and that impression lands. This is a very important part of getting work.
Exactly, and that was brilliant because, speaking of entry points and intake points, for these programs, we should be a little bit more proactive, right? So not like maybe waiting, waiting to be diagnosed as, for example, a person who needs help, right? Going, attending as English speakers. I mean, we are so fortunate. Like here in Montreal, we have great communities. We have great events happening all over the city. So attending those and putting themselves out there, and I love your point about not thinking about starting from scratch when you want to get a job in tech. If you're coming from other background, that's gold. Like that's an industry of expertise that you're bringing to tech, and I love that part. Thank you so much. Great. So the question for Sta. Okay, so we're talking about non-linear paths and the hidden job market. So I'm gonna first read the quote. I had a career break as a young mother. I got a master's degree after, in order to get a job, and I still couldn't break in. The hidden job market stopped me because I had no local connections, and I was the only woman much older than the men when I got the job finally, right? So this is what happened. So the research shows that women's career paths are non-linear, right? In ways that men are like mostly linear because of their life journeys are different from us, right? There are different things happening, motherhood, immigration, other stuff that are happening for us. It hits harder. But the career support programs tend to treat everyone the same way. Um, and I'm not like saying specifically any specific program, but then uh, now that we are seeing these evidences, we know, like we're all women, we know all of this. So I'm curious specifically that what would a woman-specific framework look like at the policy level? You have been working in the policy making and bringing more visibility to policy. And so I'm first curious about these frameworks. What do they look like in policy? And then after we can talk about where can we start?
So firstly, I really loved this question. I felt a personal connection to it
Oh,
reading it.
nice.
So just a little bit about my background. I am also a young mother, so
Oh,
that resonated with me.
nice.
I had a quote unquote career break, which is, parental leave, right? And
Yeah.
I find that interesting that sometimes going to go and do another job and another very important job of caring for a new human
Yeah.
is often seen as a break.
Yeah.
And I
A
think
liability.
for anyone who's taking care of a
Yeah.
child, even for a day, knows
Yeah.
that you are developing a lot of other
Yeah,
skills
exactly.
while you're on career break,
Yeah, of
quote
course.
unquote, right?
Yeah.
So I find the framing interesting, and I think that kind of framing also exists at the policy level, right? So when we're thinking of policy level decisions that are being made around employment programs, around funding, like Annalise just talked about how there's very, very strict envelopes
Yeah.
for what even employment service providers and community organizations can do. It creates these restrictions, right?
Right.
Of is someone in the labor market if they're on parental leave?
Yeah.
I say yes, right? You're looking for work, or you're currently, doing something else, but you're someone who's capable to work, interested in working. So yes, and there might be an eligibility issue right there, depending on the type of program,
Yeah.
because all the way coming from up top, the provincial or federal government might say, one of the requirements for someone to be in this program would be that, this person is maybe actively in the
Yeah.
labor market. They're currently looking for work, right?
Mhm.
So it there's a lot of challenges, I think, at the ground level. I think when we talk about what's happening up top, we say,
Right.
what would be a policy framework? But I always like to take it back, honestly, to practitioners. That's why I think of organizations like YES and employment service providers to ask them, right? Like, what are the actual day-to-day challenges you have when you have someone walk through the door? And unfortunately, you're unable to serve them the way you would like to because you're literally not allowed or you can't be
Yeah.
funded to do that. and then bringing those problems back up to the policy level to help program administrators and MPs and who your representatives are understand what they're voting for when they vote through a budget, for example. So just to give you a bit of data, right now and for the past couple of years, in terms of the Ministère d'Employment, like and Solidarité Sociale, they're called MES, we approximate are giving about 2% of employment funding to organizations that serve English speakers. That's very low considering that English speakers represent 15% of the population in Quebec, right? Even higher in Montreal. So that creates just this scarcity, right, of organizations that can even serve the broader public, let alone let's start thinking of a specific program that would serve, a young mother or someone that just, did a career break or went and did a master's. All of a sudden, they won't even know where to necessarily go, right? They might go and knock on Yes's door, but there's not that many organizations that are funded to do this work to begin with. So I think funding is a big thing. I mean, anyone that works in the community sector knows this.
Yeah.
Funding overall, there's a lot of austerity going on. So it's challenging also with employment programs. So for this person, they also talked about the hidden job market, right, and how it stopped them because they had no local connections. So that's another challenge, right? We know that English speakers are generally bilingual in Quebec, but if you have tried to exercise your French as an English speaker, you know that there's still linguistic barriers, right? You can have a confidence barrier. You might get to a job interview and you know what you want to say, but a job interview is hard enough in your first language, right? Let alone in a second or third or fourth language for many people, right? So that can make it very challenging to navigate. With that linguistic barrier, there's the confidence piece. And then the hidden job market, a lot of it is networking and building social capital, right? And network equity. And how do you do that if perhaps, you're unable to tap into Francophone networks? So these are very big structural issues. And I think that's where, the policy frameworks need to be targeting specific programs. So I'm going to do a little quick shameless plug for a program that PERT has called Circumflex Mentorship. So I encourage you to look up this program, but it's a new program that we're piloting. We're in our second year for it. And it is a program that pairs English-speaking individuals in the labor market who are interested and want to improve their French with Francophone and French-speaking professionals who can provide them not only with just some professional and career advice, depending on their specialty, but also they're having these conversations in French. So you're getting to practice your French in a very practical way, right? It's not like je veux une baguette. It's like oui, right? You're practicing the necessary vocabulary for how to navigate an interview or speak in your industry, especially in tech, right?
Yeah.
This vocabulary is expanding so fast, and like if you've had a career break, you won't even know how to talk about AI and demonstrate your expertise in
Should say
French.
EA.
Right, say l'IA, right?
Yeah.
That's one of the first things I learned when I came back from work. I was like, oui, c'est l'IA.
Yeah,
So I highly encourage you to look up these programs. They do exist. Like, I'm not trying to, send a very discouraging message. These programs exist, especially here in Montreal. Please look up YES. Please look up PERT. You will find that there's a lot of resources currently available. And the good thing is when we use these resources, organizations are able to demonstrate the demand for them, right? So even if, let's say, you can't find a program, if you get in touch with an organization, like let's say YES, and let them know, I am looking for this type of service. It looks like you do not have it. Do you have a wait list? Is there a way that I can register for your newsletter and you can keep me in touch? They're now able to also, right, advocate, and we can advocate, like PERT does a lot of advocacy and research. We can advocate for these types of changes at the policy level. So sorry, I do not have a magic bullet solution to what this policy framework is, but I do think that it has a lot to do with, focusing on these specific types of organizations and ensuring that they're well funded.
Yeah. Yes, Montreal. Of course, it is to bring more fun. Thank you so much. That's actually, Intelligentness as well is in like one of those organizations that was trying to get the fund, to help English-speaking women, right? So yeah,
And
we're
were you
gonna get
able
there.
to secure good funding?
We're
In the
yeah,
second round.
yeah, in the second round. Yeah, we're
See,
trying to.
that's a
Yeah,
great
we're trying to do
story.
it. Yeah, but yeah, of course, if we, I mean, there are some other organizations like small communities, small organizations that are trying to do the same. It's also like the fact that they also need to know more about the funding opportunities So, because I've been personally speaking, I have this, thank you so much. Yeah, personally speaking with some of those, community builders, and they didn't know even, that they could apply for a fund. They thought that, they should stay at this stage and struggle. So, great. So, great discussion. Thank you so much. So, the next question is for you, Rashida. I'm going to pass the microphone to you. Thank you. So, the next barrier that we're talking about is we're calling skilled professional at the gate. So broken hiring systems, question mark. So I'm going to read the quote. I spent 2.5 months with a career coach completely misaligned with 2026 realities of job market. I wasted employment insurance resources and then keyword only CV screening by recruiters who can't evaluate transferable skills. And so I never even got to a human. Right. So you're on the other side of this, right? So you're in
I
the
am.
companies,
I am.
right? So you're doing tech
Yeah.
talent hiring, right? And I wanted to know what does tech talent leads like you do in order to um, help help understand the real background of the women who are applying, and also seeing the real human beyond those keywords, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to know specifically about that. Yeah.
Absolutely. So thank you so much, Massa, for
Yeah.
having me on the panel.
Of course.
This question and this experience resonated so much with
Oh.
my own journey.
Oh, really?
And what I'll say is, I initially in my career, I'm a first generation Canadian. My parents were born elsewhere. They barely spoke French. So French wasn't something that we spoke at home. But my mom was very intentional. She didn't want us to suffer in the same ways that she suffered after coming here. So she was really intentional about putting us in French immersion, but that wasn't enough.
Yeah.
But I really tried as much as possible to use my French,
Yeah.
to hone in on that. But it also still wasn't enough. So I started working in the bank. I started as a teller, and then I wanted to move up. And I applied to hundreds of positions within the bank and externally, and never got an interview. And at first, I was very discouraged. It took a year, 2 years of me applying consistently within my organization, outside of my organization, and still getting not even that first level interview with a recruiter. I was like, what's wrong with me? Is it my experience? Is it my background? Is it I don't have a network? I don't have any friends? And I really put a lot of pressure on myself to say that I was the problem. But then I worked with a career coach, and luckily it wasn't the same one. And I learned that it's not that I am the problem, but that I'm focused on the wrong things. Hiring systems weren't designed for equity. They were designed for efficiency. It wasn't personal, it was business.
Right.
And I didn't understand the language of business. I was applying as an individual thinking, I have potential, I have ambition, I'm interested in this thing. And if someone just gave me a chance to speak with them, they'd be able to see that too. And I didn't get that chance. So instead of saying, you know what, I'm not going to be the victim in this story and in this narrative, I'm going to figure out what the problem is. And I'm going to go about finding the solution. So that was what I did. I started having informational conversations. It wasn't career related. It wasn't asking for a job. It was tell me a little bit about your work in talent. Tell me how you're developing in that next generation talent. Tell me what your talent gaps are. So I really wanted to understand within my organization and the organizations that I had wanted to work for, what were the gaps that they already had? What were some of the problems that they were trying that they were facing and that they were trying to solve? And then I really got clear on who I was. Like, what are my transferable skills? What are the experiences that I have that could lend or that could help fill that gap? And then how can I articulate that in a career story that would allow them to take all of those experiences and really be able to see and connect the dots?
Right.
Because we think humans should be able to connect the dots, recruiters should be able to connect the dots. But what I realized in doing this exercise is they had an external recruitment firm. This external recruitment firm was just checking boxes. It was like, does she have this? Yes. Does she have this? No. Does she have this? No. And again, systems weren't designed for equity. They were designed for efficiency. So in order for me to get quickly to a hire, I'm going to find the person that has the most checks on this checklist so that I can get this hire and I can move on to my next role. So when I understood that, I'm like, okay, I have to do things differently. I can't keep doing the same thing expecting different results. I have to work on myself. I have to work on my resume. I have to work on being able to articulate my career story. How do all these experiences, and I challenge you all to do the same. How do all of these experiences of you back home, of you moving here, of you getting a job, of you becoming a mother, how do all of those transferable skills add value to the area or the industry that you're looking at working in? What are some of the problems that you currently see in industry? And how can you solve them with the experiences and the knowledge that you have? And then get super clear on how you add that value and be confident. Practice articulating that. And the more you do that in informational situations where the pressure is off, I stopped putting pressure on myself to find that next opportunity and instead tried to find the solution to that. And that's what I would say. And so bringing it back now with that context, bringing it back to this question, systems weren't designed for equity. They were designed for efficiencies. Giving you an example, my team, I do a lot of early talent, so new grads, people that have just graduated, looking for internships, co-op students. That is the programs that I lead within Bell. Just in our program alone, we have about 100, just shy of 200 roles. We had 30,000 applications.
Wow.
30,000 individual applications, not to mention that person applying to multiple roles. So this is 30 plus thousand people applying for 200 jobs. It is not a personal, it is business. So when I'm filtering and when I'm using applicant tracking systems, it's not because I want to weed you all out. It's because I need to be efficient. I need to get through these 33,000 applications. And that I'm going to do with keyword searches. That I'm going to do with the key, metrics that this team is looking for. And that I may prioritize in 30,000 plus applications, someone that has more experience. Because again, efficiency, the leader is like, I need someone that can work yesterday. I need to be able to come in and they can hit that ground running. So if you're not able to articulate that in your resume, in your CV, in your cover letter, and then, if you have the fortunate opportunity in the interview, right away, you're going to be weeded out. Again, not personally, because of business. So I would encourage everybody, one, to make sure that when you're reading the job posting, you leverage AI.
Yeah.
Put your CV in AI and say, look at the keywords in this job description and help me align my CV, my resume, to reflect and to hit on these keywords. One, because you want to get picked up by the applicant tracking system, right? You want to be able to get picked up in that 30,000 plus so that you can actually get in front of a recruiter.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, there's a human. Despite what we all think, like it's
Right.
only AI that's making these decisions of who is going to the next stage, recruiters are gatekeepers.
Right.
They are making the decision. And they are also advocating with the hiring leader if the transferable skills is something that they could
Right.
maneuver. I do that heavily. I, as you shared, Masa, believe in skills-based hiring. I know because I've experienced it myself. I didn't have all of the positions and all of the companies on my resume when I started, but I had the skills, I had the passion, I had the ambition, and I needed just one person to believe in me, to believe in that. And through those informational interviews, I had an opportunity to speak to someone in talent. Didn't happen right away, 2 years later, but she kept following me on LinkedIn. She kept seeing all the things that I was doing in this space. I really wanted to build my thought leadership on millennial and next generation. So I'd put what I'm learning, I'd put the conferences that I'm going to, I'd put the work that I'm doing. I created a television show and pitched it to producers. They picked it up. I promoted that. This all while still working the job that I knew I was underpaid and had more qualifications for. But I kept going. And then she called me. At the moment of despair, I literally was like, I'm giving up. I am giving up. this is not for me. I've been putting in work for the last 2 years and it still hasn't translated to an opportunity in the space that I'm looking for. I'm giving up. It's a milestone birthday coming up. Maybe this is my sign that I'm in the wrong thing. I'm in the wrong space. And just when I wanted to give up, that's when I got the call. And she said, I'm moving into this space in talent, early talent. And I know all the work that you're doing around millennials and Gen Z. And I'm reimagining this program, and I think you'd be perfect for it. So I said, really? She's like, yeah, apply. I'll give you a reference. So I applied. Then I got declined.
Oh.
And I called her back and I said, thank you for, putting that referral there. But unfortunately, it seems like it just wasn't enough. And she said, no. Wait, I'll make a few calls. She made a few calls, and then the recruiter called me back and saying, I know I disqualified you, but I'm going to give you an interview. I got a strong referral for your candidacy. Had the interview, and she said, I'm going to be super transparent. I disqualified you. I'm like, yeah, I know. And she's like, it's because you didn't hit all the checklist criteria, but now speaking with you, I can see why you're the ideal candidate for this role. And that was just the ball that I needed to get the rest of my career rolling. It was just that one opportunity, that one person who saw me, saw my potential. All these years, she's still like, I just saw what I saw in you. You were you.
Yep.
But it just took one person to put their name on the line and say, yeah, I would recommend her. I would hire her. So don't focus on all the no's. Focus on finding that one yes. That one person who resonates with you. After you've done all the work, right? You're doing the work now in this program with Massa. You're going to be doing this work at Tech Makers through the events today. Do the work.
Right.
And build connections. Annalise, you talked about it. Building relationships, connections. Those are the things that are going to translate and transcend. Relationships have now continued. The roles that I had after that weren't because I applied. They were because of the relationships that I had built.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to happen.
It's super relatable. Yeah, I think it was super relatable for all the women in our program. Your story. Thank you so much for sharing that. And maybe we apply for Bell, because we know the tech time.
Come see me.
Yeah. Great. Thank you so much. And so for Maya, this is a question for you. This is a question that I'm very excited to hear your thoughts about, because Stefania told me that your perspectives about this, and also we had this conversation. So the barrier is called the bias nobody names, layered discrimination in hiring. Okay, I'm gonna read out the quote. Women of childbearing age are seen as a hiring risk. Women are screened out of their appearance, their country of origin, their hijab, and the bias is never named. It just shows up as a silence after an interview. So, Maya, this room is full of women who never got a call back after they applied for the jobs. What have you seen in your experience, or what does maybe Clio do in hiring to catch these biases before they eliminate a candidate? And what's one thing every company here maybe can implement in order to
Yeah, for sure. I think
advancing
it's a
that?
nice flow after what you were saying in terms
Yeah.
of it's not personal, it's
Yeah.
built, for efficiency, not
Yeah.
equity. I will say that from our organization perspective, we send some form of reply to every candidate. It might be automated, but at least it has information as to where things are at that time. And I think we all know that that counts for something. It's not that
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe the job is still open.
Yeah.
It's like when the job is closed, you
Right.
know it's closed. When we've gone with another candidate, we send that out. I would argue that I would argue that a good modern organization, and I say modern, not that it's a new company, but one that's moving with the times, is going to be more thoughtful around posting the salary band, saying how long the process will take,
Yeah.
all these things that feel very basic.
Yeah.
We are seeing with startups, we're seeing with organizations that are coming along this kind of tech I don't know, modernity, this
Mm-hmm.
so maybe some older insurance companies, some banks, not all banks, there's some great avant-garde banks I find when it comes to the tech space. But you might see the more classic, like, I didn't hear back. I don't know what the process is. But I just want to say that take a look at startups. There's a lot of smaller organizations as well that are more open to eclectic backgrounds or weird career paths. My career path is super bonkers and but it's really cool. And I've managed to kind of find my way. I just have a couple notes here in terms of like unearthing
Yeah.
the biases or what have you. So we have structured interviews. What does that mean? We know kind of what you're going to be doing. It's not just and maybe there's 9 interviews and maybe there's 3. It's okay, you speak with a recruiter first. This is pretty classic. I feel across the board that recruiter, like you said, is that gatekeeper. Let's make sure you have the baseline of what we need to then speak to the hiring manager. There's a hiring manager interview, then depending on the role, there's a technical interview. Our recruiters are very versed in equity, inclusion, accessibility.
Right.
The efficiency does come first. Like it is going to be about speed. And so that's where you see certain things drop off. Unfortunately, that's going to be at every company. But our recruitment team is comfortable challenging hiring managers. Hey, I noticed that you said it's not a fit, but you didn't explain why. Why isn't it a fit? Oh, I don't think that they can, come into this fast-paced organization. Why? What did they say that makes you feel that way? What is it in their experience that makes you say that? So asking the questions, the recruitment team does that and is empowered to do that with the hiring managers. And we have actual cases of folks who were declined. And it was at, like, let's say the 3rd interview, and the recruiter's like, I looked at the scorecards, like they were very positive. What happened in that 3rd or 4th interview? It's like, oh, it didn't really feel like a fit. And it's like, something's up here. And the hiring manager's like, you know what? Let me revisit this. They revisited it. It was bias. And they hired that woman.
Okay.
But it was just about being questioned. They weren't malicious. It wasn't malintent, right? It's, you know what you know. It's like, hey, that guy looks like me and we can get a beer later. That still happens. I'm so over it.
Yeah.
So over the patriarchy. We also source from different communities, reaching out to the Black Boys Who Code, reaching out to the queer tech
Black Ladies Who
organization. So going into different communities. And I'll say this, it's kind of, hear me out. Black women, there's a lot there in terms of maybe not being selected, but any organization worth its salt knows that we should have more diversity on our team. We should have more gender diversity. It is an advantage for us to apply and kind of lean into, you're getting a skilled woman on your dev team. They eat that shit up. And so while I know that, it is hard, there are these difficulties, less paid, less roles, all of this, there is a cachet for us right now in terms of any company that is not garbage wants to have more diversity on its team. I really do believe that. And then when it comes to, because I talked about this, we don't require a bachelor's degree anymore. I was kind of like, you don't need that. Why does that person need that for this job? Younger generations are learning everything off YouTube and learning how to code and leveraging AI, and it's, why do you need a degree in X? So short of it being like something very specific, like for maybe a data analyst with a PhD in certain types of research, like for the most part, an organization shouldn't be listing that in a job description. I have like a garbage GPA from from when I was in university because I was going through a lot of stuff. But I'm really smart and I'm really good at my job, and it hasn't been a thing. So don't put your GPA on. That's old news.
Old news, exactly.
What was that last part of the question again?
Um, so that like what's one thing every company here can hear? Do we have companies?
Do you have companies here? Because we don't have to talk
No.
about them if you don't want to.
Yeah. If yeah, we don't have to if it's not.
Well, then
But
I'll say, like, I just
but
want
I
to,
saw.
yeah, I want to lean back into,
Yeah.
you know, PERT. Yes, I'm on the board of Inicio, INICIO. There's a lot of similarities and collaborations we have with these folks in terms of Anglophone and Allophone Quebecers who are looking for work, giving you that job readiness. We do LinkedIn workshops. We'll also lean into French courses. Like, there are communities that you can lean into.
Right.
Relationships matter. You know, bumping into folks that when I was a career, what was that called? Career counselor at Concordia, meeting someone who's like killing it in their career now 8 years later. Like, how cool is that in this room? Yeah, just there's, and a lot of companies don't need French. Like, if you're going to a Quebec-based French company, yes, you're going to bump into that. I have not needed my French in 10 years. I'm still in Montreal. I worked at LinkedIn. I did go to Toronto for that, but they wanted me for French, which is a weird thing. Shopify, didn't use my French. I'm at Clio, I don't use my French. And it's like, do some side consulting. What are you great at? Get some money on the side. That's okay. Make sure you talk to your accountant. It's like a whole income tax thing, but just you can make money doing what you are good at. A lot of organizations are hiring consultants.
Great point. Thank you so much. And yeah, so that's like all the 6 barriers that actually we wanted to cover. I'm gonna just quickly. So first, thank you so much for coming to this and for I mean actually trusting and bringing your expertise into this conversation. It really means a lot. While we have this all of these conversations and all the actionable insights that you had, I wanted to say that maybe there is one more solution, and that is not waiting for the systems to be built, not waiting for the policies to be built, that we all kind of talked about. I want to give a shout out to Flor and Fiorella. Are they here in this? No, I think they're attending another workshop. So there were two, like they were mother and daughter, which they don't seem to be. They seem to be sisters, but so in our program. So what I'm concerned a lot about is that the educational system is not keeping up with the latest trends of the job market and what we need. So instead of waiting for like the educational systems to come up with new strategies, what they did, that they attended the program together, and they even recorded that they are building bonds together. So that's actually the origin for my other initiative called Mama Nest, that we're trying to future-proof youth at the same time that moms are doing it. And I would just wanted to like actually maybe share some of my understandings of working. Sorry, thank you so much. Of working for women actually, and with women for the past 7 years. Maybe it's of any help. So first, positioning. We all heard about positioning and how important is that. Is really not the finishing step. It's actually the whole strategy. So constant positioning. You need to make sure that you take that into consideration. Then every woman needs her own playbook, yes, but I would say it works when it's in the community. So hone into that. Like don't stay isolated. Don't wait for someone to notice you. Be part of the community. Then the AI experimentation gap, which is really compounding so fast, and for we need to be part of the conversation. We need to be in Women Tech Makers event. We need to be in the workshops, even if you don't know the content that is going out there. So go and experiment. I mean, we are so lucky that we're in this day and age that AI is really making everything easy for us. Then the other thing that I come back to each and every time working with women is that tech is really deeply human. It is not blue. It is really, it is blue. Yeah, you like blue. Yeah, but I mean, it is not cold. It is not, right? So it is very human, right? So the problem never has been a technology, or the problem has never been artificial intelligence. The problem is who we are inviting into the room and who is using that. So And then my main thing is that whenever I'm designing any program, I do career development and personal development all together, which I feel like the separation of these two is a design flaw. So because the same women that are struggling to get a job, they're really struggling to re-identify their identity, their confidence, their so yeah, that's actually what we did the whole program. This panel is the first stage of this model that we had. The voice, we have a lot more to do, of course, with aligning and trying to help that reach to the policy level. For that, we're going to write an insight report out of this panel and out of the program. So hopefully we can bring that up. And then the next panel we do on this topic, hopefully some policies have changed. But that starts with the conversations like this. So thank you so much for your attention, for being part of this. And yeah, we made it all way to the end. So I just wanted to quickly say that we have some other events coming up. We have a career conference, which is for women on May 30th. We have monthly networking events every first Saturday of the month. We have a Mother's Day Summit. You can find all those information in Intelligent Nest. And yeah, with all that being said, thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for sharing.